Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Hoop and the Harm. We're finally here. We have our final two teams in the NBA Finals. One could argue that we have the two best teams that were in the playoffs. I think that's really an easy argument, especially looking at Indiana's body of work. But here we sit. We have two teams that, in my opinion, don't have the classic big three, although they're trying to make OKC look like they have a big three. I don't believe the hype, everybody. If you haven't watched OKC, the three people they mentioned, they have layers. And
listen.
Thank you. They are very, and again, Indiana doesn't have a big three either. They come at you in waves. The nice thing about both these teams is you're not going to see a 7-man rotation. You aren't going to worry about, play management. My biggest concern that I think will be interesting to see how the young teams handle it is the breaks. Right now, they are scheduled, I believe, is Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday. That is quite a big break comparison to playing every other game, which what they did. So we'll see how both of these young teams handle it. We only have 3 players in the NBA Finals that have won a championship before, and one of them was on the Nuggets, who saw game 6 maybe for a little bit, but again, not really a regular player for Indiana, Bryant. And then you have Caruso who played with the Lakers during the COVID finals, which I do not count. So he's trying to get a real ring. And then Toronto, obviously the great run of Kawhi Leonard back in the day, has the Eastern Conference MVP.
Yep, Pascal Siakam.
Unbelievable player, was great with Toronto in that run. And again, he's great in this run too. I'm interested to hear how you're viewing these finals and what you're seeing. Now, obviously, what I've read and everyone looking at this, OKC feels just, again, with the regular season, how they played the Eastern Conference, how they were as a team, how they showed in the playoffs. I do enjoy Indiana. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're the favorites, OKC, and there's good reason for it. I do think they're the team to beat. That said, this Indiana team, if there's any team that can run with them, I think it's them. They play super fast paced. They've been playing some really good defense. To me, I kind of think they're very similar with these teams. I kind of think of Indiana as like an OKC light. I think, Indiana's defense is a little less formalized. I think, OKC is more of a machine, and, Indiana's more of a manual replication of that machine. But, I don't say that as a slight at all. Both of these teams adjust really well. They both can take punches and come back, and they've adapted to all circumstances. They're both deep, as you said. They'll pull guys they're not afraid to pull guys that you haven't seen for games on end. They win in a lot of different ways. They play team basketball. Yes, SGA is what makes OKC run. Yes, Halliburton is what makes the Pacers run. But, and maybe this is where, even you could give Indiana an advantage. But I think it could be said for both of them. If both of those guys have bad games, there will be other guys who will step up. And you can count on them because they play team basketball. So I'm fascinated, actually, by this matchup. I think OKC will win, but it'll be close.
I think because of the breaks, we have a nice break for both teams before they suit up for the first game. Obviously, both arenas are going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that what it is. Both of these fan bases would love it. Absolutely love it. They want to, they want a championship terribly bad. The fan bases aside, when I look at this, the one thing that I noticed with Indiana in the Eastern Conference is against the Cavaliers, I could even go back even further against Milwaukee. Indiana stole a game they shouldn't have won. Against the Cavaliers, they did the same thing. And against the Knicks, they did the same thing. So Indiana has each of these rounds stole in a game, and in a way stole away. I mean, they still steal game one on the Knicks. That's the difference between game 7 and game 6.
Yep.
When I look at OKC, they are the only team, we'll have 2 still in it, that got a game stolen from them and still won a series.
Yeah.
Denver went in and stole game 1 against them, and they beat Denver in 7 because of what they did in game 1. That's probably a 6-game series, maybe even a 5-game series had OKC won game 1. So when I look at this, I felt OKC learned a lot from that. I felt they played better. The 2 stats that I look at for me when I'm looking at the playoffs was, one is points off turnovers. Mm-hmm. Indiana did very well on that. So did OKC. OKC is actually better than Indiana. And the other avenue that I thought was interesting is offensive rebounds. OKC has probably, if I remember, 4 or 5 offensive rebounds ahead of Indiana. It is a huge problem against the Knicks. Mm-hmm. And I'm nothing for nothing and nothing against the Knicks. OKC, you cannot give them more opportunities. The reason why Denver was in that game is because of their offensive rebounding and their defensive rebounding.
Yep.
They had to stop them from getting additional tries. OKC doesn't need any additional opportunities.
No.
And Indiana seemed to give those out like it was nothing. Now, when I look at the overall scope of someone getting hot at the end of games and what have you, both of these teams have that. The other thing that I'm super interested in is this is something that OKC has done religiously all year. They end the second quarter on a run, or they third quarter on a run, or end the third quarter on a run, start of the fourth quarter. They will bury you quicker than quick. And you have said this to everybody. 1 minute you're in 5-point range, the next minute it's 25, and you don't even know what happened. And you didn't even call a timeout because it happened so fast. And I feel like Indiana will play in that pace. But the difference between OKC and Indiana to me is OKC, I've seen that ability to just stretch a lead. Indiana, I've seen them stretch, but then they come back to earth pretty quickly. I've seen OKC stretch it and hold it. And then they hold it and hold it. And you keep going, well, when are they going to get colder? Then another guy comes up and another guy makes a shot. And another guy. And then defensively, they're very sound, extremely sound. That's the part to me that I look at and I say, when I looked at Indiana's matchup against the Knicks, for instance, Brunson, they had an answer for that. They really, really got all over him. I'm looking at the point guard for Indiana and I'm thinking, who are they going to disrupt? Because SGA is going to get how many calls if they did that to him?
I was going to say, the refs would seemingly be a little more friendly to SGA than they were to Brunson. So what's going to happen?
But the way that I look at SGA is his height helps, but he also gets those calls because he's driving to the basket. He's not trying to work his way around someone 5 feet away from the 3-point line.
Very true.
So the refs aren't going to bail you out there. But if he's driving to the hoop and he draws that contact or does I got bumped when I'm jumping away from the guy and still make this crazy shot. So I do like your point about the fact that these two teams are very deep. And if in an NBA that, everyone's trying to get 1 or 2 stars, and when we look at the offseason and everyone's trying to load up or get the right person in that mix to get them over the top, when I look at OKC and I look at Indiana, you do need the right players, but you also need the right formula. You need, OKC isn't OKC without that defense.
So I just, I think that Indiana got as far as they did because of their speed and because of their playing their style and their rhythm and, scoring off the turnovers and fast breaks and just pushing and, just constantly moving, great passing, the whole deal. I think OK is probably thinking, we dare you to try to play like that with us. We dare you. Because they are better at it, I will say.
I don't foresee OKC making a basket and then Indiana scoring in a layup in 2 seconds.
No.
I don't foresee OKC hitting a 3 and then Indiana's down there with a dunk.
Right.
I just don't see. I mean, I've watched OKC. They do not. And it is very hard to get fast break, easy points. And every team that faced them had that difficulty. And when they had the breakdown, when teams were doing that, they just shored up their defense and figured it out. The biggest trade that turned out to be the best trade in the offseason, because here they are, has got to be the Bulls OKC.
Mm.
There has been, I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't say most valuable, but he has been a valuable asset. And again, he won with the
He's been
Lakers.
exactly what they want.
Caruso has been, again, the younger individual they traded was not this. And he wasn't going to be this until 5 or 6 or 7 more years. So they just added the right older player who's the man off the bench, who knows his role, who brings lots of energy, who finds the right space. How many times has Caruso found the right space to either get the rebound, get the easy layup, make the extra pass? His spacing is really smart. So his NBA IQ is higher than a younger player. You know, so that's why that trade makes so much sense. And with his age, he's not that old, but he is the seasoned vet of this team. And then SGA, again, not being in his third year, but being, 26, playing on the Clippers, losing all those years. This has been a good transformation. So,
and I think that the other thing is that OKC is a year ahead of Indiana. There was a real world where OKC won the championship last year, or at least played in the finals, really tough series against Boston, and maybe came up short. But they got humbled, I think, and that was, I think we would all agree that was a letdown when they lost and didn't make it to the finals last year. This year they were not going to let that happen again. They were determined. They made some tweaks. They added Hartenstein. They added Caruso. They added the perfect complementary pieces to this young team. And, whereas last year, I'll go to my grave saying this, I think Indiana got really lucky. I think that their path to the Eastern Conference Finals was really lucky, and they got swept by Boston, rightfully so. This year, I think they're a very, very good team. But, it's both teams' first time in the finals. But to me, OKC feels like the team that, absolutely hands down, no brainer, should be there. I wonder if that has some precedence at all in this series.
I think the two players OKC picked up, brought the seasoned veteran leadership to them. I wouldn't even call it the leadership. It would just be like the focus to get to the next level. OKC still loaded. They still have more draft picks. They still have more things they can do. And we were wondering, if they get ousted again early, do they go do something drastic, which they haven't done? So here we're sitting right before the finals. Who is the player that you see on each team that you're like, this is a key if you're going to be victorious? Who is the key person that needs to be great, or even up their game a little bit?
It's a tough question because both of these teams, as we've said, are really teams. They're by committee. There's a lot there. I think, and this maybe sounds like a cop-out, easy answer, but I do really think for OKC, this is SGA, cement your status as MVP. You are the best player in this series. Be the best player in this series. Because I think if he's at his best, if he's otherworldly, forget about it. That other team is going to just click. The other team will come together. Indiana, again, they, as we've seen in this playoffs, and I think it's part of the reason that Halliburton didn't get the MVP. I mean, he does disappear. He will have an all-time great game, and then, kind of disappear the next game and fade away. And it doesn't matter because there's other good players. This might sound a little crazy, but I would like to see someone like Miles Turner for Indiana come up in a really big way. He's kind of had a spotty playoffs. He's had really good moments, and he's had moments where, you realize, oh, this is why Turner's never been an all-star before. I think, for them, to utilize his skills down low, um, or have him hit some dagger threes as he's capable of doing in key moments more often than he has been this postseason. I wouldn't mind seeing that. That would be somebody that I would, if you tell me that happens, that Miles Turner really steps up for Indiana, I would say, oh, that could be something that could push Indiana over the edge there in a good way.
That's interesting. Again, you picked the obvious MVP. So I'm assuming the greats are the greats. So when I look at this, it's like when I was telling you the Knicks needed Hart to step up and really play well. They were going to win this series, and he did not play.
He's doing
open, but he was a factor. If he would have played well, I mean, that changes the whole landscape. The player to me that I look at that's interesting, because you said Turner. I think Chet is, to me, kind of this key for OKC. Not in a standpoint of you need him to do well to win. If he disappears, they're okay. If Chet plays his 2010 4 blocks, this is over.
Yeah.
If he's doing that, he's hitting threes, Turner's out of the block, spacing is great. Like, Chet opens up the whole floor for you. And the other thing that he does that I think Big Cat just will never do, he makes you alter the shot. He came up with the great block. I believe it was against Minnesota. And he was, all over the place in regards to just making you re-angle things, readjust in midair. And he does a really good job of just being that. He's not a force. He's not super, super strong. He's not looking to take bodies, but he's going to be effective in that role. And if he plays well, this series, to me, because I feel like, SGA is going to get his. I feel like, go down. I feel all the players are going to be fine. But if
Williams is going to be fine,
Williams is going to be amazing in this series. It's going to be a lot of fun. But if Chet's giving you 20, like, I feel like that's just bonus money.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he doesn't do it regularly, to your point. But if he's doing that and then he provides a block here or there, especially timely blocks, that's the other thing that these guys do. If he does a timely block, it's crucifying. Like, how many times have I watched OKC? They hit a 3, he blocks something, then they did another rate. It's suddenly you're like, oh, it's 6 points. It's brutal. I still remember when the Knicks, and McBride was on the line, and then Indiana went back, hit a 3, and it was like a 6-point turnaround. It wasn't. It was just that's because McBride hit the 3 after he stepped out of bounds. So when I look at it,
or did he? But I did.
I saw the replay too. When I look at that, for me, it's almost like OKC is able to, they shoo away the bad things and they create more good opportunities. So Caruso would be an easy one for me because when he plays well, he's aggressive on defense. That would be really great. But to me, watching Chet, if he gets going, like, that's dangerous level. And for me on Indiana's side, and I feel like the players, like, I feel like all these players are going to do what the starters are going to be their guy. Who is the point guard that comes in off of the bench? McConnell. He, to me,
he's like Caruso light.
The reason why he's like
Pesky.
Do you remember when Dallas beat Miami?
Yes.
Do you remember their little guy? Starts with a B.
KJ Barea.
Yes, sir. Do you remember him? Do you remember how he came in and he did things and everyone's like, who is this guy? And then he would guard LeBron James.
Yeah.
Do you remember how he was just that?
Because he's just annoying.
But he's annoying in all of the ways you want him to be.
Exactly. I mean that as a compliment.
Because he's not important enough to care about. Like, no one's even looking at, the McConnell. No one's talking about him.
It's the last thing on the scouting report, right?
Yeah. And by the way, they bring in this backup point guard, and he just but to me, when I watched him for the Indiana second team, the way he controlled the pace, the way he found open shots, the way he was able to get into the lane, he was tiring for the team that had to defend him. And when you have a second string player that makes you tired in defense, that's good for you, bad for them. Because even when you're like, oh, the second string's and I don't have to play as hard. No. You still got to run this guy down. The difference that I will see is if they are shutting him down, if OKC is locking him up, turnovers, block shots, which they can do against him, because OKC has that defensive ability, that's the flip I see. The flip I see is Chet's playing well for OKC. That's a good sign. Obviously, I think Caruso is going to play well. If McConnell is struggling in this series, this is a terrible, terrible sign for Indiana.
Yeah, I mean they have enough guys, enough horses they can make up for it. You know, McConnell had great moments in the last series, but he disappeared for a couple games too. I just think everything that they do, a lot of the same things good. I just think OKC does it a little better, and I feel a little bit more confident. Like, of course, every team is prone to, have moments where they slip and let a team get back in. But I trust OKC to do that way less. And I trust OKC to be able to right the ship quicker than Indiana. They both score off the turnover in incredible ways and make a team pay for mental lapses. But, I feel like Indiana could still keep you in it, whereas OKC will just embarrass you till the cows come home. So, another thing I thought of, is talking about guys that could step up. OKC has so many guys who can come in and just get so red hot from 3-point range, be it what's his name, Wiggins or Isaiah Joe.
You're forgetting one of the best defenders.
Who am I forgetting?
With the starter, not even on the bench, but rainbow shooting threes. Dort.
Oh,
Dort.
That's what I mean. Like
every time he shoots a three, I'm like that. What are you talking about? And it goes
like take your turn. Who is going to be lights out for three tonight? Like they just they must pick it out of the hat and okay, it's my turn. I'm going to be unconscious from 3-point range tonight, and that again. Indiana's a good 3-point shooting team. They have guys like Nesmith who can come in and shoot 8 3-pointers in 2.5 minutes or whatever it was. But it just OKC has it in spades. So
what's interesting about the playoffs is that OKC has the most wins by double digits, I think, in the playoffs ever, and regular season. I think it's regular season and playoffs. I think 10 plus points. One other thing interesting, if you look at OKC, they have one dud. Minnesota, they had a dud. Game 3, they went into Minnesota and they just didn't play well, and they all just sat and they were like, "This is a terrible game." It was what it was.
It's a real head scratcher.
But at the end of the day, they all just accepted it and went on to win Game 4, and then went and destroyed them in Game 5. Yeah. So what I see is, I could easily see OKC losing a game by that many points to Indiana. I could see them, if they're up 2-0, 3-0, something like that happening. The difference that I see right now, and this is why I said earlier, these gaps in the games, it's going to be difficult, to have a game like that because you don't play for so long.
Yeah,
it's not like it was easy on Game 3 because you just played back to back to back to back to back for the last series. This series, it's okay. We're going to come back in 2 days. If you get blown out by either team, if OKC blows out Indiana or Indiana blows out OKC. Guess what? You have to wait 3 days. That's a long 3 days. And the media is
still over it.
And the media is going to be asking all sorts of questions. Yeah. Now, the thing that's natural is OKC's used to doing that to people, and they're used to that happening to them. I will be floored if we're going back to Indiana, anything other than 2-0 OKC. If Indiana steals a game, which they have the ability, and they've shown that they can, by scoring 20-some points in 2.5 minutes, to me, Indiana steals the game, bravo. Let's see. The series is on. If we're 1-1 going to Indiana, I think that's great. If we're 2-0, it feels very inevitable, especially how they win. That's the other thing. If Indiana is struggling on the bench, if they're struggling to get points, remember when we talked about the Knicks struggle to get points, the Suns struggle to get points. Yeah. OKC throughout the whole playoffs, that rarely did I say, well, that was hard.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way.
And you know what? I said this about the Knicks. When the Knicks blew that first game, that Game 1 that they had no business losing, I said, now you're asking Indiana to lose 2 games in a row. And I just don't see that happening. And again, to my point, I see that even more so with OKC. Like, I see those roles reversed right now. I just don't see OKC losing 2 in a row. So Indiana has to steal one in OKC. They have to.
I, I agree with you. I just feel maybe I'm putting too much weight into the space in between the games. I just maybe, and they're young and they'll be fine, but they literally pace this out for like a 40-year-old LeBron or a 38-year-old Steph Curry. They have it. They have it to where it's like, oh, we need the rest. And they look forward to having all of those days off. So I find this to be a series that's going to be interesting how they deal with that.
Yeah.
Because these are both young teams. And again, I feel the ball's going to be flowing. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see 140 scored twice by a team. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see a team win by 30.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything is on the table. Like, I could see us texting in the third quarter, well, I guess we'll watch the next one. The problem that the NBA has with those games, especially with how much time it is between the games, is that you're selling a product and the product is Indiana OKC. And then if they start blowing each other out in these games, people are going to go, oh, I don't need to watch the end. I just need to watch the first half and then I'll know. And so
which you don't want.
No. So I think the ratings are probably going to be poor. I know we're both interested. To me, prediction wise, I see OKC taking this in 5. If you were to say OKC sweeps them, if we're talking about a sweep at the end of this, that also wouldn't surprise me, just because, to your point, they have so many different players that can do it. And when one player's off, another player just dials it up even worse. And they're spacing, and they didn't lose in game 3 to Minnesota because they were just heavily guarded, and they just were really overwhelmed or outmatched. They lost because they missed wide open shots, which will happen. But they get wide open shots consistently, and I have yet to see a team stop them. And watching Indiana's pedigree, I just don't see Indiana defending to stop the open shot. I just don't see it. To your point about Turner, my point's about Chet. Do you think Chet's going to stop Turner more so, or Turner is going to stop Chet on those 3-pointers? I see Chet more comfortable out there because look who he's playing with as a team. Turner's never shown me that he can come out there and close on a 3.
I think Chet's going to have a block party with the Pacers, and I think
that bodes very well for OKC.
I think it could be a big talking point, actually. And I'm somebody who has said on this show, like, take Chet away from OKC and it doesn't even matter all that much. And, if they felt the need that they needed to add somebody else, I would say, you could move Chet and get a really good player for him. But to your point earlier, he can be a real difference maker. And man, if he's blocking shots, Halliburton, got switched on by Cat an awful lot, and it didn't really make much of a difference. If you're switching and Holmgren's guarding you, you're in trouble.
This is going to be an interesting series. It starts off here on Thursday night, and I'm intrigued like you are. The other thing that I do like is I know there was an injury at the end of the Indiana Knicks game, but I believe it was like their 3rd string center. So I don't think they have like a real star player that's been injured going into this.
No, they had two injuries. Bradley, who was, the I think of like the 3rd string center to begin the playoffs, and what's his name? Jarris Walker, who really only played in those last 2 games. So
right. And I think so. To me, I think everyone's relatively healthy. OKC, I don't think has anything wrong.
No, they're ready to go.
Which is, if anything, you were hoped that someone would have gotten hurt, but and then they've been sitting for God knows how long. I mean, this has been a long break. So game 1 is going to be interesting. So if I'm Indiana, you want to steal game 1. You hope that Halliburton can score 20 in 2 minutes again, because he has that ability. But I would also say, like, geez, I've watched SGA for a while. He can also put up 20 in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
We got a lot of talent here.
I'm hoping we see some moments where they're just going back and forth, punch for punch, and it's just like at the end of a game. It would be nice to see, one of these teams, trying to make a run and the other one just counting, as opposed to like one team making a run and the other team just completely letting them have their way with them, as Minnesota and the Knicks did many times.
The reason why it's hard for me to see that, and it's easier to me to see that with like a Minnesota team, is he doesn't get ISO'd as much as they really play good team ball. Mm-hmm. They really do a good job of like, distributing, moving the ball, having those kind of moments. So we'll be, again, we'll do a recap after, I believe, game 2. Okay. And we'll talk to everybody about what we're seeing. I'm expecting OKC to be up 2-0. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. Happily surprised to see a 1-1 matchup going back to Indiana. I do think both fan bases, to me, these two, again, nothing to take away from the Knicks and certainly nothing to take away from Minnesota, but all 4 of the final 4 basketball teams had fan bases that were so hungry. So it's great.
All good stories.
Yeah, so whoever wins is going to have a great parade. One of the best parades. Now, one has less of a population than the other, but parade nonetheless.
Yeah.
So that's all you have for the Hoop and the Harm on the finals, and we'll be following this with you guys. Obviously, OKC, what a joy to watch. Absolutely.
What's your official prediction?
I have OKC in 5. I think OKC wins 4-1, similar to what they did with Minnesota. They take it at home in Game 5, and the crowd goes crazy.
I'm gonna say OKC in 6. I'm gonna give the Pacers 2 games. I think they have one game that they win and have no business winning because that they've done it all playoff long.
You have a lot of evidence.
I have a lot of evidence, and I think they do win one of those games just outright, like Minnesota did to OKC. Just everything kind of goes right for them one night. But I think the coaching is going to be fascinating. I think the adjustments are going to be fascinating, and I do think OKC will. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 1-1, and OKC just buckles down, wins the next 2, maybe has that blowout game or that that sneaky comeback game from Indiana, and then closes it out in Game 6.
That would be interesting to win on the road for them. So we shall see. And that's again, that's us at Hoop and Harm. We're going to be going through the off season, which will be even more fun because I think NBA fans have a lot more fun talking about what coulda, woulda, shouldas, and what they can't get from other teams. As you're already reading all sorts of rumors about the Knicks, and I have read numerous rumors about the Suns. I can tell you one thing: the Suns will not look the same, and I don't think the Knicks will either. We already know what the coaching staff that occurred there. So, as always, thanks for joining. Please like, subscribe. We'd love to hear your comments. I think we may be witnessing the start of a possible new dynasty. Maybe. Are we looking at that with OKC? It's kind of hard to not look at that with all of the youth they have.
Yeah.
Or as Joe Pesky would say, the Utes.
I mean, a lot of stuff has been made of these 2 teams, being brand new, fresh teams. Finally, like we've been on a stretch of like new teams in the finals. This could be the start of like a rivalry too. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see both of these teams back here next year.
It will be interesting, and I wonder if we will be looking back at this moment and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm so tired of OKC."
Yeah.
It turns, the public turns really quickly on you. They're like, "Oh, you're an adorable story. Now I don't want to see you ever again."
It'll be like the Warriors. People loved the Warriors when they first won, and then
the good news for OKC is they may not have faced the Lakers this time, and they may not have faced the Golden State Warriors this time. I have a feeling we may get that in the future. So OKC is not going anywhere, I don't believe. But here we go. Let's rev the engines and get the finals going. As always, I'm your host, Brendan, and that is Nolan. Thanks, everybody.